Hi everybody, thank you very much for having me here today. Let me switch to the slides and start here. I have my timer here because I can speak a lot. I get excited. You will see that I have a lot of energy and I get excited when I start talking about what I do. And so I need to make sure that I keep on time. All right, so now it's starting. So this is me. I wanted to start a little bit with, so you guys know who I am. I'm Dioselin. I go by Dio. I'm originally from Venezuela. I'm living in Walnut Creek right now. And I love, like I would say in my bios, thank you, Aaron. I love road biking. That's my thing. That's what I do here. Let me make sure that the slides are, it seems that I need to keep the mouse moving. Oh, no, source. Let's see if it works. Oh, there. All right. Okay. So, as I was saying, I live in Walnut Creek, and road biking is my thing. It's what I love doing. That's me, Mount Diablo. Really proud that I made it to the summit. So, this is what I would prepare for you guys today. I'm going to tell you like the story of my life. You know, the highs and the lows. Also, of course, tell you about my career. So, it's going to be mixed. I'm hoping that by telling you my experiences and how I got to where I am, it should like. The idea is to give you those lessons that I learned along the way that hopefully will help you. So, and then of course tell you about my career, what I do, and hopefully get you very excited about computer graphics and virtual reality because it's really awesome. So you will see. I'm going to be telling you where I'm from, things that I've been doing. So let me do again the source. Oh, it's there. Okay, good. So this is where I'm from. I'm from Venezuela, South America. I was born in Caracas, in the capital city, and very early my parents and we all moved to a tiny city called San Antonio de los Altos. It's actually in the mountains. When the slide comes back, you will see that the elevation is 1,600 meters, about 5,000 kilometers. It's like the Sierras here in California. It's very mountainous. But it's just a small town. It's less than 100,000 people. The very blurry photo here at the bottom, this is my brother and I dressed up. You know, in South America and Venezuela, we don't dress up. We don't do Halloween. We don't have that, we don't celebrate. Instead, the kids dress up during Mardi Gras, the equivalent of Mardi Gras, Carnaval. You probably heard of the Brazil. So that's my brother and I dressed up, and my brother is dressing up as Chapulín Colorado. You will see that I'm really old, so your parents will know who he is. So, okay, so let me tell you how I got into math and programming and all. This is 1987, so you can see that I look very young because I exercise, but I'm actually a lot older than I look. So in 1987, I took my first programming class. Oh, is there? It'll come back. So this is a programming language that probably you guys don't hear anymore, called BASIC. At that time, there was, very black monitors, with green, monochromatic letters. And so, very spaghetti code. What I remember from there, I just took that class. It was like after hours. I was just like, hey, they're teaching this, and so I just went and checked it out. The very last class, I remember they talked to us about pixels. What is a pixel and how to draw. And so it was very simple. We didn't even drew curves. It was just like, I remember I just drew a chest. You just like straight lines. But that's when I learned that, they told us like, the computer is like a matrix. It has rows, and columns, and each one of those points is a pixel. So you can take a mathematical formula, and you know how a straight line, a horizontal line is y equals x constant, or a line with a slope is like y equals x, for example. So you actually the horizontal pixels is the X, the vertical is the Y, so you take that formula and that's why you can draw. And there's a function that turns off the corresponding pixel. So that's when that's when I had my aha moment, like this is awesome, this is like, wow, you can transform mathematical formulas into pictures on the computer. And I thought it was super cool. And that was it. That's when I said, oh, that shouldn't be there. Oh yeah, okay. I talk a lot, by the way, so I have to make sure that I see the time, because I have a lot of stories. But then again, that was my aha moment at 6th grade. So that's when I said, I want to go and yes, be a programmer. Later on, at 11th grade, you probably have that here the same, right? Those standardized tests, intelligent tests that you have to take at the end of high school that kind of teach you, that's supposed to tell you what you're good at, what you're going to be. So I just took this from a website. So I took one of those standardized tests. I remember a lot of pattern matching here and numbers and sequence of numbers, and I just okay, whatever, I took it. So at the end, after you do that, you receive your results by mail, and then you have an appointment with the psychologist, right, to tell you, okay, what you're going to do. But I was like, I'm going to be a programmer. I don't need to talk to anybody, I realize now that I had that kind of teenager arrogance that I'm just going to do it. But I think it actually helped me, because when I got the results, I'm like, yeah, let me see. I was a good student. I was actually very applied and all. When I opened the results, it said that my results on the math part were terrible. And it said I had a really low score for computer engineering and math, and that I should not pursue that. And the thing is, now I laugh, because I'm like, whatever. I still went to the appointment with the psychologist, and she's like, oh, okay, so have you thought about what you want to do with your life, after graduation? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a computer programmer. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm an engineer. She's like, well, but have you seen your results? She was trying to be nice. She was like, have you considered, I think she said journalism. I don't remember, to be honest, because I'm like, no, I haven't considered anything else. That's it, my mind is made. And she really tried to talk me out of it, but she couldn't. And then she said, well, what I recommend you is that whenever you're in class, try to use, and you're taking notes, try to bring a lot of markers with different colors. So the important information, you write it in one color, and another information in another color, and try to draw everything so you can understand and remember. And that's the point on this, I promise. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I went to, took that. I applied to just one university with the engineering degrees that they have in Venezuela. Fortunately, we do have a couple of public universities, very low cost, because that was the other thing. Where I come from, my family is middle class. Over there, of course, in Venezuela, it's considered middle class, but it's really, not. My parents were not wealthy. So going to a private university was not an option for me, so I didn't even apply. And in Venezuela at the time, we didn't have really scholarships. So fortunately, financial aid was not really an option. There was only one program that unfortunately went broke. So I just went to this university called Universidad Simón Bolívar from Venezuela. Very nice. It's actually it's a small university compared to here in the U.S. But it's actually very good program for engineering, and it actually has gone through has been in international contests. So this is just this is the city where I was living, San Antonio, and this is the university. So it's actually not that far away. 20-something kilometers, I think that's 22 miles, going from Walnut Creek to San Francisco. However, the only way to go there was through a very small road, only 2 lanes. So, and as you can, very similar to here, traffic would be really terrible. It should take only 25 minutes, supposedly 36 minutes, but with traffic and all, it would be 2.5 hours. So that was the tough part, because again, not having a wealthy family, I couldn't afford to just go and move to another place. So, oh, are we getting a phone call? So that was the time also when I had to do some sleeping in my car during those years. My very first car, that was cool. That was a nice story. My father, from the company that he was working, they were selling a van that they used to transport the employees for $200, I remember. He's like, hey, do you need a car? And I'm like, yes, please. So the great thing is it was a van, so it was like big enough for me to sleep in. So okay, I promised that there was a point on the me with math and all. So I went to computer engineering and I applied myself. One thing that I realized, like no matter how much I studied, I just couldn't get an A in calculus, and I really studied. However, I am very good at physics. You know those graphics where you have to visualize the forces and all? I was really good at that. But the things that really happened is like then when it came to like calculating 5/3, 9/whatever, I just couldn't do calculus. And that became a very like embarrassing thing for me. And the funny thing, by the way, I've never said this in a public presentation. I was telling my coworkers yesterday, it's like, I'm coming out with my learning disability. Because the truth is, it was like a very big source of embarrassment for me, especially, you know, the whole girls are not as good in math as boys, that kind of thing. And, you know, I'm supposed to be a programmer and I don't do numbers. It only came years later that I just Googled, and I was already in grad school, that I Googled, hey, I have problems with numbers, and I found out this calculus exists. And it's, like I said, it's a difficulty making arithmetic calculations. So it's a learning disability. It's very funny, because then seeing like, I may be, apparently also they say that the people that suffer from dyscalculia also have trouble with body coordination, and they're not very good at athletics. I was never good at that. Also, like, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, difficulty remembering faces. I didn't know that was related, and like, yeah, me. So, but you know what? I did get my A's in physics, for example, because again, it was a very visual thing. And then I said, what I told myself, because again, I never told this to anybody, I'm like, whatever. Well, I'll just study. But I realized that then again, I took computer graphics at the end of, the last year for us is specialization. When I started doing 3D programming, I realized I love it. I love really doing 3D and trigonometry. And the computer can do the calculations, so never a problem. So again, by the way, this is what I was telling you. I'm going to be telling you this, my path, my journey, and also lessons that I've learned that hopefully will help you, and some of you might identify. So that was the first thing is follow what you enjoy and make it yours. So regarding that, for example, it is true, I wouldn't work as an accountant. I wouldn't work as a mathematician that has to run, numbers all day long. But you know what? It turns out that computer graphics was great for me. Because I do 3D programming and all, and again, the computer can do the numbers. So, and take a little, with a grain of salt, those standardized tests. So next, I actually graduated with really, really good grades. And so, towards the end of it, one of our professors, computer graphics professor, by the way, she came into one of her classes and said, you know what, there's this conference in the US every year called SIGGRAPH, and that means a special interest group for computer graphics and interactive techniques. And that conference happens to accept student volunteers. It's every year in the US, but if you're accepted as a student volunteer, you get free ticket, you get free hotel, free meals, and you get to also help them organize a conference and attend. So she was the one that told us about it. We were like, oh my God. Because again, being over there in South America, international traveling was really prohibited for us. So yeah, that's what we did. A group of us, like, those around the time that, Toy Story came out, Shrek had been out already, and we were like, oh my God, we want to do computer graphics. So that year, that was the very first time, 1997. The conference happens in LA. They alternate, one year in LA, the other year in any other city. So that was very nice, because then, I found this. This is just random, well organized. I found this while cleaning my apartment several weeks ago. This was from last year. The video proceedings from 1997, it was in VHS. They wouldn't give you a CD or USB key that they do these days. But anyway, wanted to let you know the conference is based here in the US. It's amazing, very well respected. This year is in Anaheim, correct? Yes, it's in Anaheim. And it's always at the end of summer. And it's a great opportunity for you guys to just get into the industry, and it'll come, it came later a lot in my career, SIGGRAPH. I made contacts there, I met so many people, met mentors that really helped me through my career. So with that, my next tip to remember is volunteer and participate. Just go and give it a try, even if you don't find it that interesting. And you may find that you actually love that kind of thing. And if you love computer graphics or technology in general, many of these conferences accept the student volunteers. I actually found, like, for SIGGRAPH, this year application already passed, but totally recommended. So I graduated, I was over there in Venezuela wanting to do computer graphics, oh my God. Yes, Aaron? Okay, sure. So I graduated in 1999, and I wanted to do again something related to graphics, to something interactive. I wanted to make movies or games or something, but unfortunately, at that time, and even today in a very extent, there was not such an industry in Venezuela, in my country. And so I looked for programs as well. I wanted to go to grad school, and there were no programs over there in Venezuela. So I started, I have to go somewhere else, to another country. So that's when I started looking for, what programs are out there in the US. And so it took me 3 years, again, because, saving money and looking. Financial aid was not applicable for me as an international student. When you come to the US, you can get accepted by university, but scholarships usually require citizenship. So those were 3 years, me going, emailing universities and, hey, I'm interested in your program, but I have no money, so is there something I can do? And they were like, no, sorry. So of course, Stanford, Cornell, all these awesome universities that have programs, unfortunately, they couldn't help me. And it was at SIGGRAPH, because I continued going. Even after I graduated, whenever I could, I would just save money and just try and go. And at SIGGRAPH, there was a booth from Purdue University. And as usual, that's what I would do. You would see me with my resume under my arm and just going and walking and talking to people. So I went and talked to a professor, and I told him, hey, I want to do computer graphics. Oh yeah, we have a program, and the College of Technology, we're doing all of that, and then of course I dropped the bomb. I'm like, but you know what? Do you have any kind of financial aid? And the answer was yes. Can you believe it? That was like amazing. They have assistantships, including for international students. So going back home, I started emailing with a professor, and they helped me with the whole application process. So that was another thing and I realized that not many people know about that. Many universities in grad programs, and even in undergrad, they have assistantships, and that covers the whole tuition, and they even give you a small salary. So that's how I finally got here to grad school. Yeah, no problem. Okay, Aaron may have found the solution. Yes, I think it worked. All right. Thank you. It's working. Nice. So that's how I made it to Purdue University, the College of Technology. Amazing, super cool program. So that's how I got into virtual reality. So. And then again, it was again a case of me just asking around and just like finding really awesome people. And that's the other kind of message that I always tell people is just keep asking, because there are amazing people around that are willing to help you, mentors and friends and people who advise you. So because I'm running, I don't want to run out of time. So I found these awesome people that were creating the first virtual reality center at Purdue. It happened right when I was joining. So it's called the Envision Center for Data Perceptualization. That was when 2002. Oh, unfortunately. Aaron, I think you need to Aaron. So. At that time, Oculus didn't exist, the Wii didn't exist, and so head-mounted displays were like super heavy. All of this kind of hardware that you see today that they're selling, they were actually just made by engineering students, like either electrical engineering students or computer engineering students in academic institutions. So I specialize here. You'll see in the corner here in the cave. This is my advisor, by the way, at SIGGRAPH, by the way. This photo is taken in one of those conferences. So we had a six-sided cave. That's another type of virtual reality platform where you don't wear the headset, where you actually go inside a cube. Imagine a cube. And then each one of the faces has projectors behind or in front of them, and they're projecting in stereo. And then you wear the glasses, the stereo glasses, and that's how you see all in stereo. You also wear a head tracking device, also sometimes in your head or in your body. One of the advantages of that is it's not only for one person, like head-mounted displays. Actually, several people can go at the same time. So it's it's just another type of platform. Okay.
So sorry, everybody. We're obviously having some technical difficulties. We're just going to switch out the laptop.
We don't mind.
Thank you for your patience.
So, okay, so I was talking about Purdue, what I was doing there. So I worked at the Cave doing virtual reality. Collaborative virtual reality was my specialization. And it's funny because when people ask me, okay, so what do you do? I'm like, well, I programmed applications that people could use to connect in different geographical locations. They can see each other with avatars, for example. There were characters and you would select, and then they would connect, and you would see it in 3D in a screen. And people would be, well, you just multiplayer games, right? I'm like, no, it's virtual reality. But the truth is it's pretty much the same technology. The difference when virtual reality are those, first the technology, the devices, of course, right? There's a stereo and there's tracking. As a programmer, you have to take that into account. And, but yeah, pretty much it overlaps a lot with game technology. And that's why, right now you see a lot of, now the year of virtual reality this year, many game companies are getting into it. So if you're a game programmer, it lends, right, to the same field. So cool things that I did over there in the corner, that was a distributed art performance. It was a theatrical art performance distributed in different regions in the US. So we had people in Alaska, in Florida, we were at Purdue in Indiana, and I forgot, there were 2 more universities. So there were artists in each site, and they were either streaming music or streaming video, doing different things in the theme of a box. That was the theme of the performance. And each side was free to interpret its own way. So what we did at Purdue, we had the cave there, and we had a dancer in it doing a special performance. So in the cave, the environment, and I was in charge of programming that. It was a box where, there were an environment where the idea is that the dancer was kind of like feeling a little claustrophobic and all, and interpreting that enclosed space. And then that same application, I released it so anybody could download it and play it in the laptops as well, and then join, and then they can have their avatars also walking around in the same box with the dancer. So the dancer was interacting with those people. Another thing, by the way, that they did is the dancer was also wearing motion capture suit. So she would go and dance, a routine, and then she would step out of it to the motion capture area. And then the people from Florida, if I remember correctly, the University of Florida, they were streaming music. And she was able to control the music with the movement of her hands. So that was really cool. I was very proud of that, and it was very enjoyable. So these are my professors. By the way, this guy really helped me when I was applying to grad school. I just emailed me. He even proofread. I was learning English, of course, right? He even proofread my essay, then helped me how to apply. Dr. Bertolini, he's now the dean of the College of Technology. I owe him a lot. He even helped me with, after I graduated, I just didn't know how to apply for jobs and how much salary I was worth, and he even helped me on that, on reading my resume. So I have a video here of Purdue. If we have time, well, we only have 20 minutes, so maybe I should just keep moving. I can send you later I just wanted to show you what, with the kind of work that they do in the Envision Center at Purdue. Going back to remember my learning disability, Professor Bertolini, Dr. Bertolini, he designed a class that was, because the whole master's degree was about computer graphics and interactive techniques. One of the classes was about the history of computer graphics and the idea of being a visual scientist, and how this kind of technologies, especially, graphics in general, interactive graphics, they blend minds from different fields. You have to be creative, not just the techie people, the programmers, not just the mathematicians, but also the artists and even the physicists, right? Because people that study light, they need to have the physics background in order to then program in the computer. So he designed this fascinating class. So this was a required reading, this book by Thomas West, In the Mind's Eye, Creative Visual Thinkers, Gifted Dyslexics, and the Fuse of Visual Technologies. And that was this guy actually wrote a book about many people that are actually quite talented scientists that they have learning disabilities. You know, dyslexia, or people that cannot remember numbers. As you know, there's these famous stories of Einstein, right? That Einstein wasn't very good at, you know, speaking with people and had trouble with basic math, but then he was like fascinated, you know, he could do very complicated concepts. Lewis Carroll, from Alice in Wonderland, he couldn't remember dates, I think. So he would like write poems to try and remember them. So of course, I'm not a genius, but it brought back the point, like, oh my God, of course, you see how like, it doesn't matter, like, you know, the fact that I had this, you know, this problem with doing numbers, but the fact that I was a, you know, visual person is actually what brought me into computer graphics, and actually, I'm not bad at it. So recommended reading, by the way, is really good, very inspiring. So this is my next point. So, you know what I was saying, mentors are there in many places. So what I found is like those people are everywhere, and they're just like waiting for you to ask them questions and ask for help. And it's true that you have to ask like 10 people and then you will get one person, but when you get them, it's fascinating. These are my mommies on the top. The pictures, I call them my academic mommies. You know, my computer graphics professor that got me into SIGGRAPH, you know. She lives in San Jose now, and I'm still in touch with her. She's been giving me advice and mentor through, you know, since forever, 20-something years that we've known each other. My grad school mommy, she's the one, she was my advisor during master's. She got me several of my jobs and recommendations, amazing. This woman, when I worked at DreamWorks Animation, she became my mentor. She was my manager over there. And again, these are all people that are you just need to approach them, and they're amazing. And as I told you, my other professors that helped me in grad school. So, but I finished my, I have 15 minutes. I should be wrapping. And I haven't gotten to Unity. Okay, let me wrap. So, at the end of grad school, I ended up, that was the years after 9/11, so there was still that paranoia with international students, so I couldn't get a job in the US. And that's when I moved to Singapore. Let me skip. I did super cool stuff in Singapore with virtual environments. But that was the point. The point is, you know, don't forget that the world is really big. One of my mommies actually at the time told me, well, Dio, you know, the world is bigger than the US. You know, go to Japan and do robotics over there. You know, you're young, and you know, go to China. And that was an amazing advice. It really, and I still recommend it to everybody. Just go. If I have more, I have so many stories. But anyway, let me continue. So at least I get to Unity and what we're doing here, and give you time if you're curious about anything. Then I came back, after a couple of years in Singapore, I came back to Louisiana. And remember one of my mommies, she got me the job finally in a virtual reality center at University of Louisiana in Lafayette. So this is Dio walking in an omnidirectional treadmill. That was really cool. Again, at that time, the Oculus didn't exist, so it was mostly academic institutions and the military. So we had a deal with the Army Research Lab in Aberdeen, and we were developing network environments for dismounted soldiers. Those are the soldiers that are on the ground. And so that's why we were the first university to have an omnidirectional treadmill, which means you're in it and you can walk in any direction. And so I was in charge again of the networking part. The funny thing is that thing cost like $11 million, something like crazy like that, cost the university. But something like 2-3 years ago, I saw one at GDC in San Francisco for like $500. So it's amazing to see the technology, how it's coming. So in 2010, I came to Silicon Valley. So one of the things that I found is like, this is a place of extremes, right? There's the hippies, the earth-loving people, but then there's all these CEOs, arrogant CEOs walking around. Just, you know, very open-minded cultures everywhere, right? We have so many cultures here, but at the same time, so much isolation, right? Everybody's seeing their phone. And so it's been like a very, I don't need to tell you. So that was 2010, and so I came and I worked, my very first job here was in a startup in San Mateo, they were doing a search engine for movies. And I found that, I was the first female engineer that they hired. And so while I was there, I was the only female engineer. There were something like 15 people only in the company, and only 2 women, the executive assistant and myself. And I started noticing that they would, like, my boss, the CTO, would yell at me and would raise his voice and be really mad at me. And so, do you realize that the table has wheels? Okay, so I realized that the guy was he would yell at me, at work. He would not agree with me, and rah! He would do the same thing to the other woman, but he wouldn't do that with the guys, with the boys. He would always question my opinion. Even at that time, I had experience, right? I was in the industry. He would question my opinions and wouldn't listen to me. So I realized, this guy is not treating me the same way that he's treating everybody else. Something is going on here. I approached the other woman, because we bonded. That's one thing that you immediately see. The technology field, even in this center, is still very, dominated by this very strong personality kind of male. So I talked to her, and she's like, you know what, I'm feeling the same thing. And I told her, I see that they yell at you, they scream at you, but not the guys. So I decided, well, I need to talk to the executives about this. I need to raise this. So I met with, the executives, and I was so nervous. I remember I was shaking, almost crying, even though I knew, because I went and I took I wrote specific cases. So it's they're not going to say that I'm an emotional female. I'm going to put here very specific cases, that I'm not being treated the same way. However, I was shaking. So I went and I talked to them. I remember they even said, Dio, calm down, you're not in trouble. Because I was and I'm listen, I know the statements that I'm making are really, I'm potentially damaging somebody's career, right? But I need to say this is happening. And so they're okay, they listened to me, we're going to take some action. So what happened was, following week, there was a CTO and we were 2 engineers, that we both reported to him. So what happened is they made me now report to the other male engineer that until that point was a peer to me. So I told them, listen, this looks like a demotion, because you're making me now report to my peer, and this really looks like retaliation, to be honest. And they're no, Dio, not at all. So I asked them, well, show me an organizational chart of the company. So show me where I was before, show me where I am now, and it turns out I didn't know that. Companies in California are not required to do that. So of course they said no. So, but anyway, I think you know what I think, right? What my opinion is. Fortunately, I left that place, and so I landed at DreamWorks, and oh my God, you see that's when you see all my my eyes start lighting when I do that. That was a great thing actually that happened, because it made me go and find another place and be, that's not going to happen again. I deserve more than that. So I work at DreamWorks. My very first 2 years was a character animation engineer. They brought us because they were doing this new initiative that they wanted to do real-time animation. So that's why they wanted people that had experience on doing real-time interactive systems. So How to Train Your Dragon 2 was the very first movie that used our software. And so even till to this day, I kind of cry when I see the movie, because it's very nice. So my last 2 years at DreamWorks, I was doing, they wanted to get into hey, let's do new technologies. The idea is let's apply our knowledge to other fields. And so of course they knew that I have my virtual reality background, they put me in this new department called New Technologies, and we started experimenting with immersive storytelling. I wish I could show you videos of that, because it's amazing, but unfortunately it's confidential and DreamWorks doesn't allow me to show. But hey, look at that. Look at this beautiful diversity photo there, right? Isn't that the perfect diversity poster, you know? The Latina woman, you know, the woman from Europe, the Chinese American, and the guy from the Midwest. I mean, beautiful, right? So that was my team over there, and so that was not only was so rewarding, and I did like super awesome stuff. And you asked me about DreamWorks, and I tell like I don't stop. But you know, I realized that you will be successful in the place whenever and wherever you can be yourself. So feel free, that's what I tell everybody. Feel free to reject job offers and don't go to companies that make you feel uncomfortable, even in the interviewing process. Because they shouldn't. And companies that are successful, more successful, are companies that actually realize this. So then, we have 8 minutes. So I started at Unity last year in October. And so Unity is a game engine. For those of you that don't know, Unity is, might not heard about it. In the game industry, it's one of those engines that are quite popular. They've been around for over 10 years. And they have this division, very new, called Unity Labs. And the idea is that they want to experiment with new technologies and push and investigate and do research. Virtual reality, of course, is one of those. So when I saw the year, that was my grade last year, finally I can get a job in the industry, where before I had to do it in university, in academia. So I started working over there. And this is my project. I had videos, but unfortunately I don't have time. Sorry for talking so long. But this is a screenshot of the application that I'm leading right now. Is authoring from the point of view of this. Yes.
You could show a video. We could take 5 different more minutes.
Yes. Oh, okay. Because last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a virtual reality conference. Oh, but the video is in the other machine. No, yeah, sorry. Oh, well, if this computer has internet, I put a link here. So let's see if it shows. Oh, okay, cool. Is there sound? Yes, I'll get to sound. So in this conference, we presented our work doing. Can you hear it or? No, I don't think. Or is it? Yeah, maybe it's. Sure. Yeah. Maybe the computer is muted.
Good, thank you. It's amazing. With a couple sensors and some amazing software.
I'm not going to make you go through all of it. I'm going to go to our part. Okay, here we go. Now, virtual reality, as you know, of course, is one of those technologies on which we're heavily investing. And as Joaquin showed, you've seen principal designer Timony West. And here's Timony. She's going to be showing the projects that we've been working on.
Hey guys, I'm Timony West, Principal Engineer at Unity, and as my colleague Dio just mentioned, we've been working on scene editing tools in VR for VR. I hear some of you guys might be interested in this. So, I've actually got something to show you. I'm going to put on the headset right now. Good thing it makes you look real cool. Alright, let me grab these. A couple steps back. Here we go. Okay. Awesome. All right, so as you can see, we've already set up the scene a little bit here. This is the Modern Loft scene by Polybox. You can actually buy it right now on the Unity Asset Store. We've also got some interface elements here. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but let's get started. We're looking at the left hand here. As you can see, I actually have my assets in 3D, turnstile mode. Sorry I shake you guys, a little shaky today. All right, so I'm going to start off by just adding sofa in the scene. Voila. And I selected it. Right? Okay. Don't worry. There's more. Okay, so as you can see, we have the gizmo in VR. Just move it along like so. Move it over here. Load it out. I'm going to move this back a bit, like so. If you look at the inspector here, you can see it's actually updating with the information. I want to talk about this a second. So this looks like Unity, but it doesn't look exactly like Unity. We don't just want to pull in all of the Unity windows into VR. I get it, that can be useful right now, but we really want to rethink what is the best way to work in VR. We're really bullish on this. We think it's going to be a great experience, so we're trying to think about what is the usability here. And we're still just getting started with this. We're still in wireframe mode, but we're really trying to be thoughtful about how we build out good, useful tools for you. And as you can see, this is connected to your controller right here, but long term, the vision is that this should be just as customizable as Unity is in 2D. So you should be able to pull off assets, put them where you want, put windows where you want, make a little utility belt. So all of this, we've already built the API, we're just figuring out what the best default view is for you, and then you can take and run with it. All right, I'm gonna add in a couple more things here. Just build out the scene really fast. I wish I lived here. It's pretty awesome. Scoot this over a bit. Scoot that over a bit. Okay, so as you can see, we have joystick locomotion right now. Long term, we're going to have blink locomotion, and we also have a couple of cool ideas up our sleeve for you being able to move around a scene really quickly and manipulate things really quickly. People ask us a lot, I get a lot of questions like, why build this at all, right? Unity is fast. It's true. But if you're using Unity now, you already know the value of being able to manipulate 3D objects in general, and actually seeing what your users are going to see. So being able to just pick this up and move it a little bit, especially if you don't know Unity well, if you're a director, for example, or if you're a set designer, it's just magic. It's easy. It's awesome. All right, so I set up a little bit of the scene here, but this is VR and we can do what we want because there's no weather. So I'm going to add some awesome art here. Okay, so scooting in a little bit here, you see that you've got the basic rotation and plane manipulation. Oh, sorry. This is plane manipulation. This is kind of a new thing. So you see how, look at right up in here, it resizes as you get closer. If I move this little thing here, I can actually pick up this and move it around like so on any given plane. This is super useful if you're just trying to move things into place really quickly. Looks really good. There you go. So long term, we'll also have surface detection and snapping, and we're playing around with some ideas with physics. And I'm going to add in one of my favorite assets here. It's a really big whale. Because again, this is VR. So I'm going to move him over here, like so. Maybe like here. Move him over here. Maybe bring him down a little bit. And there we go. Now, all right. So one thing about this guy is he's physically big, obviously, and he's kind of scary, actually. But he's also huge. This is a really, really intricate, large asset, and he's actually moving right now in the editor. And I promise you, I'm not getting sick. Frame rate is still good. All right. One more thing. So this is direct manipulation. I touched on this a little bit earlier. You can actually just pick up objects and move them around. You don't have to use the gizmo. You can scale them up. I can make them as big as this whale. But for right now, I think I'm going to make them a little pocket-sized puppy, like so. There you go. Easy. And since we have this gigantic whale here, I should probably check the... All right. I said we're rethinking the interface, but we know you guys want this, so here you go. Ta-da!
Yeah, people really like that. By the way, the funny thing, when Tiffany was, when she was rehearsing the talk, she kept like, oh my God, that whale is freaking me out. So she's like, oh, I have to stop. You have to see, that's the thing about virtual reality, guys. Go and try it, please. When you're in it, it just feels, that's when you get it. It's really difficult to explain to you what it feels like if you're not there. So I know we're out of time. I know that you guys have to go. By the way, for those of you leaving, I need to give a shout out to the VR Club before. it turns out that you guys have a VR club, and I wanted to invite you guys to go and visit Unity. So let's talk about it. We have the Vive and all, and virtual reality lab over there. So let's keep in touch. Aaron is already with me, so we'll figure out. So for those of you like living, that was my last thing. This is this girl from C++. Is the slope is more important than the y-intercept, and it has to do with the point where you start in your life. And so that was like really resonated with me, because that was one of the things like, oh my God, if I had been born in the US, oh, where could I be? If my family had money, oh my God, where would I be? And so I never wanted to be like a social resentful, but it was in my head. And this is a 21-year-old girl who actually made me have an epiphany, and it is true. Well, it's not important where you start, it's actually how fast and how motivated you are. So anyway, that was my last thing. Thank you very much. I know it was very nice.